No, good afternoon. I'm so excited to be a part of this conference and to talk about some exciting things that we're doing at Flexera and some communities that I have worked on. I'm going to share my presentation with you all. Let me get this going. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So it's my introduction. So yes, I've been in the digital marketing space. I like to say I was on the forefront. I graduated college in 1999 when it was all about AOL, and which is funny because my parents still have AOL addresses, email addresses, and I'm like, gee, wow, that takes me back. But I started out my career, really in the advertising agency business, where digital was obviously, it was something new, and it was a new way to target consumers. And I spent a lot of time doing research with potential, prospects, customers across so many different industries, and understanding where they consume digital media the most, and really targeting the right ads. And back then, banner ads were really big on AOL and Yahoo, and they obviously have grown quite a bit. But that was really what, I focused on my career a lot in the beginning, building digital strategies across a variety of industries. And then eventually I moved to the client side. I've been on the client side of the business now for about 7 years. I started out, when I first moved to the client side, I moved to the actual alcoholic beverage industry, working for the Chicago Blackhawks, which is a huge hockey. Hockey is very big in the United States. And they actually brought me along. Their owner of the Blackhawks owned a beverage distribution company, and he wanted me to come and help him figure out how to do digital marketing. So I actually came in and built a whole digital infrastructure and e-commerce platform, a community site, social SEO, and just got them on the ground running. And that's really what I would say is my bread and butter since I've gone to the client side, is really helping organizations understand how they're marketing in the digital space, how they can be more effective, and how to optimize spend. And really, I spend a lot of time doing business cases to justify why we should be doing those things, which is going to be the big topic of my discussion, which around communities today. But I did move from the beverage industry to software, which I've been in now for 5 years. I started out in Oracle, and now I'm at Flexera. And I'm going to talk a lot about Flexera today. I am the head of digital marketing there. I have a team of digital marketers, from developers to social media experts to SEO. We have SEO and PPC, and as well as the community. And what we do at Flexera is we are a software asset management company. And software asset management, I had no idea what it was 2 years ago when I was approached by Flexera. And it's actually really such an interesting topic nowadays, especially in the times of COVID, where everyone is home. Me and my children are home. My office is not opening up anytime soon. And basically, you think about all the licenses that you manage, for example, for SaaS applications, and not understanding how many you have, how much are being used, how much you're spending. So we actually have software that helps customers in this space to really understand how to do that from an automated perspective, and not doing it so manually. Because when I was at Oracle, I actually sold a bit, which I think was a great experience for me to understand, now being in the software industry, how that works and what it's like to own a pipeline and close deals and whatnot. And basically, one of the biggest things that I heard from my customers when I was selling SaaS applications was, oh my gosh, like, how many licenses do I really need? So what Flexera does is we offer that from a software perspective. And one of the big things that we're going to talk about today is community. So when I joined Flexera 2 years ago, one of the things that I had already been decided, but I was asked to lead, was to actually build an online community. So we know our customers need help in this space as a means to talk to one another, provide value. So we wanted to offer them like an online space, which of course is just so huge right now, because especially in the times that we live in. Online communities, I think, are just the way of which we tend to communicate. I look at all the communities that I'm personally involved in, that my children somehow do now through school. And I just think it's such a great opportunity. And at Flexera, one of the big things that we wanted to do is really help our customers. And that's really going to be the talk today. So talking about the importance of communities in general, it's really a place where you can build connections from an emotional and rational perspective. So really, there's a lot there because, relationship building is so huge. And I think that today we're challenged to do it so much in such a better way because everything's online. So it's really, for us, it's like, how can we create this place? And I'm going to bring Flexera up a lot here, but how can we bring our customers together and help them forge relationships? Because in the software industry, as a customer, you may or may not get a customer success manager, which is your account manager. And I've worked in customer success when I was at Oracle. And basically they are your quarterback, if you will. They help you with your business questions. Perhaps your software isn't working and you need to put in a support ticket. Well, a community is a place to actually help enhance that. Or if, say, you're too small of a customer and you don't have a customer success manager, the community is really your go-to, especially at Flexera, in terms of how you do business with us and transact all online. But, a lot of things that I've learned and a lot of events that I've attended over the past couple of years, just as I've really become more ingrained in communities, is like, it's a safe place too, where you can share ideas, get interactions, and whatnot. But I'm going to say one of the biggest things that I do quite a lot is prove value. So yes, it was important. We knew we wanted to create a community, but it also wasn't something that just happened overnight. When you talk about business value of a community, it's really, what is the ROI that it's going to generate? And one of the big things that we had to prove at Flexera was, and you're going to hear this a lot, me talk about this quite a bit too, was, when software doesn't work and you have to go in and create a support ticket, how can we create a space where customers could actually perhaps look up their problems versus waiting for support? We all know, like I bring up the example, I've had several trips canceled now from COVID, but like getting through to someone at the airlines is impossible. So for us, it's like, well, we want to create a space where you can go online. If you're having a problem, you're just say you need to figure out some sort of code or whatnot, you can go to our Flexera community and find that instead of always relying on putting in a support ticket. But for us, we've had a 2-year plan. Now we're at 2 years, so we're thinking through year 3 of what that business value and ROI is. And one of the big things now we're talking about is moving into cross sell. We've built a lot of engagement. We've helped driven down our time to resolution, but really around the cross-sell piece. And resources. I mean, this is one big thing too. It's an information bank, but it's also to make sure, one of the biggest things that I struggle with and I always work on with my team is we can't just have this repository of so much information. One of my biggest things that I do, I also manage our website at flexera.com, is content audits. One of the big reason why you want to make sure you're not just putting so much content out there is because it decreases your load times. SEO is very important to us, which I'm going to talk about as a key metric. So you really want to make sure that you're not just putting everything under the sun. We actually have very detailed checklists. So to ensure that we are providing the right resources and not just filling this space with so much information that it becomes overwhelming for your customer. But one of the big pieces to the success of our community, and I have to give a huge shout out. So I have a community manager who works for me, and she is like the super glue of the community. I mean, as you think through and providing value, you need someone who's actually going to help manage the day-to-day, but also manage the relationship. So, yes, I'm our head of digital marketing, but marketing is just really one piece of the puzzle when you think about communities and how you promote it and whatnot. You're also dependent upon customer support, as I've talked about, product product management, engineering. So it's so important to bring everyone in, and you cannot work in silos when you're building a community, because it's just way too dependent on too many different pieces across the organization. So I'm going to give a huge shout out to a community manager. And I've actually done a bit of community management now too, because we are a lean and mean team. And it's all about getting back to people, and we have guidelines, like making sure when customers put posts or whatnot that we're responding within the right time frame too, and we're also bringing the right people into the conversations. But how to make people aware of your community. So when we set out to create our community at Flexera 2 years ago, it wasn't like, oh my God, we're going to build it and they're all going to come. What we learned is that soft launches tend to work very well with communities. So what's great about us is that we were able to identify, working with sales, who were the most lucrative customers, if you will, that would be willing to participate before launch. And we actually did a soft launch, which was great because it was a great opportunity for us to just get some learnings before we did our big splash. And this is something that I've heard, and I've been reading quite a bit. And I actually just recently attended a conference that Grazidi hosted last week on communities. And it's all about like how you really need to treat your members special, like that they're special, because you want them to come back. Really, that's one of the biggest goals. And not just to do these blasts. Like, yes, working in marketing, we're all about email, social media, website advertising, you name it. But the more targeted you can be, the better, because it's any community that you're just going to blast is not going to do a great job, because you won't get the members that you really want. So segmentation is such a huge part of this. And software, as I've mentioned, customer success managers are a very important part of our organization, and they do a lot of promotion about the community and they talk about it in sales. But a lot of the ways that we make our community known, it's very personal, I would say. And also when you sign up with Flexera, you're onboarded. And one of the big pieces is how can you get involved in the community? Like there's, a lot of education there, and where can you find things and whatnot. So we do a good job, I would say, of trying to help our customers navigate the space. So one of the big pieces too for community management, I would say, is delivering a seamless experience. This is a snapshot of our community. I'm going to talk about how we've evolved over 2 years, because as we all know, in digital, nothing stays the same. But making it a place that we've learned from our customers, they want to know, like, these are all of our products, but where can they go right away to find things? One of the big pieces of feedback that we got too was around search. So we actually just implemented federated search, because the community, as I said, is providing resources. It's also a way to pull in information from Flexera.com. We have a learning center, which is like online education. We have different portals. I mean, I think we all struggle with this. There's so many different websites that can be attached to a company, but how can you make the search, which is front and center, pull in from all those resources? So I'm a huge fan of federated search. But really just making it easy. This is our interface when you go to our Flexera community. I mean, there's not a lot to overwhelm you. And you'll see, I'm going to actually talk about a bit of UX testing coming up that we've done in the community, but really how we've evolved and how we've made it simpler and allowing our customers to easily find what they want and ask questions. And we are looking at this every month from a metric standpoint. I can't stress the importance of reporting enough. It is really so important. But the struggle that we have too, and I would say anyone in digital has, is that you have so much data. What's really the right data? What do you act upon? And we change that all the time. We actually do a lot of goal setting at Flexera, and we've actually realized, like, for us, it was all about building registrations. Initially, we want to make sure more of our customers are registering, but then now it's like, how do we get them to come back? How do we get them to subscribe to our blogs? Like, we're looking at a little bit more of nuanced data now that we're a little bit more mature, I would say. So the community user journey, I mean, this is very typical as you look at different, marketing types of segments, but really what we focus on at Flexera is more of the contribution piece, but it's very interesting. Like, you look at this as it goes across the spectrum from visitor to top contributor, but, I would say it's fascinating because like one of the big things that we look at too are these learners, lurkers. Like they may not be engaging the discussion, but they are like soaking up a ton of information. So really one of the big things too that I've been learning and working with my community team is like now that we are more ingrained in this, how do we segment more around this so that when you log in, you actually have a more authenticated version of the community versus where you are. And we've actually, because, budgets are tight, which I'm sure everyone struggles with now, we've done some like off the cuff, if you will, user experience research, just talking to our different segments that we've identified ourselves within the community and understanding what we can do for them and how we can create these different flows all based on these segments. So why should I come back to the community, the WIFM, the what's in it for me? One of the big things that we love, and there's so many things out there, is our badging and gamification. I mean, we have so many badges, but it's really fun. And we actually do it internally and externally. And that's really a big piece too. We're trying to evolve and add more things too. But a lot of the communities I'm involved in, like I'm a Salesforce customer, I'm an Oracle customer, I'm a G2 customer, and I've really started to study all these different badges that you can receive, but that's what really gets people hooked. Obviously engagement. If I post something, I want to make sure someone's going to respond. We give kudos, which are likes, and education and empowerment. Those are all the things that's going to make people come back. Because like I said, we've struggled. Yes, we may be getting registrations, but how do we get people to come back? And it's just, again, I will always say you can't just build it and leave it. It takes a lot of time and refinement to really make sure your community is thriving. And what does success look like? This is, like I say, data is, really the key to success, but there's so many different things. And it was funny. I was going through all this and I'm like, these are really like the top metrics that we're looking at, but it's really important, as I said, to prove ROI, like when you're looking at the cost that the community is and what we're getting. You can do everything over the sun. And obviously some things for us in marketing are more importantly to support and customer success around NPS and time to resolution, increasing customer satisfaction. But really, I can't say it enough. Data, looking at your results is so important because I have to prove the value of the community all the time to senior leadership. And it's really helpful too, because we're making investments in this and I want to show the company that we are actually doing a great job. And we struggle sometimes with building benchmarks because there's not a lot of things that we can measure ourselves against and in terms of industry data and whatnot. But really this is such an important piece, just to look at what you set your goals out to be and how you're doing and how you can improve over time. So now I want to actually bring you through an example that I worked on at Flexera too in building our community, just to show you that things evolve and whatnot, and they never do stay the same in this space. So one of the big things that when I actually, on my first day at Flexera, I was invited to an all-day strategy workshop session for our community. And it was a bunch of internal folks who were actually whiteboarding what the community should look like. And I just sat there, again, thinking about my digital experience and how I'm a huge believer in testing and I've done so much research. Okay, so this is all internal perspective, but what does a customer think? And I asked that, and everyone looked at me like, who are you? And I really don't believe that if you have this, and there's ways you can do this from a scrappy perspective, because believe me, I'm always watching my budget, but we should test this interface. Like, let's get it like 20 customers and do some UX testing. Because this screenshot down in the bottom here, like first we had an old community that was just not very well managed. In the top left. And then when you go down to the bottom middle here, this is what the team had come up with, the interface. And so we actually, I begged our head of sales to give me some money to do some UX testing. And he did. I made my case. And we actually learned that this was not right. Actually, what customers wanted was what was on the right. Like what we would have launched just based on internal perspective would not have met our customers' needs. And it's changed since then too. This screenshot is a little outdated because we've actually simplified and just put some stats on there. But again, I'm a big believer too, simpler is better. But you can really see the power of UX testing. And that's something I really fight for amongst all of our digital properties. So here, our research objectives were we wanted to obviously understand what the needs and pain points and benefits are, and then what was really important for launch versus not so much, and then roadmaps. I create so many roadmaps in my career, but it's like, what do we really need over time to help us get to our end goal? So here, as you can see, like it's the power of data, the power of talking to customers to see how things change. Because again, like you go to this prototype that we had built, but the customers in the UX testing told us that it would be more useful if we moved things around for helping solve problems, like keep it simple, add more visuals, but just make it more real than it was here and what we had originally, the team had originally come up with. And search, like I can't say it enough, like search is just the number one most used feature on our community. So the more you can bring that front and center, the better too. And here, like, as you can see, just like labels were confusing, like products, we do have a lot of products. Customers like, can you just list them here versus like us having to go to the nav, click down and see what's there. So, I mean, that was a huge finding, like, where do I end up, whatnot. So we actually changed it, and this has been way more effective too. And here's some pages within just to show you all like what the inside of the community was based on internal versus external. Here, just around making things like not so much marketing, like that was actually, and for me being a marketer, I'm like, I get it, because I'm like, yeah, we may have our own goals, but again, what can we deliver to make the customer experience better? So here, just really, you can see like we changed the interface, really wanted to see how many kudos and how many views and whatnot, and our leaderboard and gamification piece. It's all huge, but it just is a much more effective way to convey. And here's some more things like with support updates. Like even our customers who, I mean, these are people who like live and breathe like code and understanding the technology, the terminology, they wanted it just simpler. Like tell us like, what the symptom, the cause, resolution is, just in a more simpler way. So, I mean, that was really the big thing. I think we just overcomplicated things because again, it was more of an internal perspective versus an external one. And then one of the big things that we've seen, and this is huge, and I actually talk about this with our CEO quite a bit. It's like just about how we are seeing customers like help each other. That was really one of the big goals too. It's like, again, we can't always respond. So they're putting in comments, and they're actually, there's an example of someone calling someone a captain, like one customer to another, which is like just a friendly term. And so really the signs of camaraderie have been huge, and we're so excited to see that. And really, it just doesn't end there. It's like one of the big things too, our customers, initially we weren't happy with the case management, which is where you would put in a ticket or a support ticket. So they actually, willingly gave us information that we need to change the portal. And we replied to every single comment, and we worked with our support team and rolled out a whole new space for this. So, and our customers were so thankful that we actually addressed this and we made an update. So again, like the whole thing is to listen and improve and never stay the same, because it's just everything is changing so much. And really the community is the best source of where you can get that one-on-one data that we always strive for. I know on the website, it's so hard because I can't get that insight, but the community is, you've got your whole research group right there because you can see who your most active members are. And with that is my presentation. So thank you. I think there might be some questions, but I really appreciated the opportunity to share this with you.
Hello, Alexis.
Yes.
We'll take up the questions now.
Yes.
All right. So we have one question from Tanya. She asks, what should be the fundamentals to consider for building a community?
The fundamentals are, first off, I would say that there's a business value you're providing from a business perspective. So really just in terms of, what is it that you want to achieve? And I'm a big believer too in crawl, walk, and run. Like I said, our community has changed so much over 2 years, and what you initially launch with is not going to be what you'll eventually get to. So I think it's okay to learn as you go and expand. Like I said, like we expanded our case management portal, we've extended our blog system, but I mean, the biggest thing is outlining your goals and building a roadmap is really the best starting point to get started with and to talk to people. I mean, I also think that doing customer research to identify a need for something and to have data to support your decision is huge. Because like our head of sales always said, he's like, I want to create a community. Like we get this feedback that we want to, but again, we had to have that data to support that there was a need for something as well.
Right. So I hope that answers your question, Tanya. So we have another from Samuel. It says that does a roadmap ideally get executed, or are there high chances to pivot from it?
Oh, there's high chances. It's so funny. When I was prepping for this presentation, I went back to our roadmap for this year, and it's changed such a bit. We've moved things around. I mean, look, every year we start and do goal setting for the year. We're very much measured on meeting goals that get presented to our senior leadership every month. And I would say, like there were things like one of the things we want to do this year too is to implement a chatbot. And we haven't gotten to it yet because we've been so busy with other priorities like federated search, like I mentioned before, which we just launched. So yes, you can pivot it. We change our metrics too. And I never get a lot of questions from senior leadership because they understand like things are changing. We're seeing people change and how they interact with us. So yes, it's good to have a starting point, but I'm a big believer that even the environment now, like what we saw here with COVID too, like March, it was pretty quiet for us on the community in April. So we took a dip in our results, but it was also based on the current environment. So yes, I would say it has to be fluid.
Right. So we have another. How do we see common interests that bring the community together with the business proposition? Does the members' perception about the community change if it talks too much about the business?
Well, that's a tough one. I would have to say, just in terms of that, every community is going to be different because, we're not pushing so much like business related messages. I would say it's more of a space for customers at Flexera, especially to help troubleshoot and find answers to their problems. I think I've seen other communities where there's too much selling, because that's something we're thinking about, like cross sell. But how do you do that in a way that's not too obtrusive? That's something we'll need to figure out and refine. But I do think, that's a great great point. Like my gut tells me don't do too much business talk. Like again, provide resources and help. That's really what it is. And not so much like, oh my God, you've got to buy this and that and that. It's to drive conversation. And, customers may have questions about that stuff, but that's coming from them. It's not coming from us.
Right. So, Samay says that we are very interested in the idea of a chatbot. Is this as a client need? Is this as a client need or to get into chatbots as a product?
I know we're really big into chatbots too. We have live chat on our website, which has not been so great, but I'm all about just because we have a business development team that manages it and they're just so busy. So it's hard. But for chatbot for us, we actually came to the business with that idea because, again, lean and mean teams, like let's use AI to help drive conversation, like to understand what our customers want before they go right to talk to a live person. So this was something we identified as a need. Customers weren't saying, oh, you guys need chat, but I think it's just some way. I see it on so many different companies' website, a lot of our competitors too, like chatbots are a modern way to communicate today. So that's definitely something we want to do on our community. We want to do it on Flexera.com. And then we also would like to do it in product as well. But we've just noticed that from an internal perspective that this is something that would help us because we're so lean and mean, help us get to the root of what our customers want from, helps them solve their problems without having a live person there to engage in the discussion. So it really comes down to scale.
Okay, so we have yet another.
Sure.
How do you plan business goals at the start of a year while making a roadmap? Is this something that a senior management decides or your team comes up with the thought process?
We actually come up with it. I educate so much senior leadership. They did not really know a lot of the details of the metrics that we're looking at, but it's really me and my community manager and our head of support and head of customer success. We sit down at the beginning of the year and we start talking about goals, like what are the things we're trying to look at. So we define those and we then get buy-in, like my manager's the head of marketing. So she will agree to it, always what we propose. Cause again, we're the experts. So, and they take it. But like I said, we've changed them because what we set out with in the beginning of 2020 completely changed because of the business environment we're in right now. So yes. So I think it's good to collaborate. But then no, again, I'm a big thing that change is good.
Okay, so we have Rajashri asking a question. Will having a chatbot drop the interaction within the community?
No, so I think that that's a really good question. So I think the chatbot would be more focused around like customer support. Because customers still are going to put in support tickets, no matter what. And we're going to have it very focused there. We're not going to have it on every place on the website or on the community, which is also what we do on Flexera.com. We only put it on product pages. We're only going to have the chatbot on certain pages because yes, we don't want to distract. We want to drive that engagement. But we also want, really to be focused within the support case management section of the community. So I would hope that it would not drop the interaction. But again, we can always look at data and see how it's working and refine.
Okay, so another question. What methods do you use to grow the community? How do users define the community?
So that's a really good question. So it's hard because one of the things that we learned is I showed you some social posts. Like we used to post on Twitter and LinkedIn to drive people to our community, and we didn't find that to be very effective. Honestly, the biggest thing for us is word of mouth. In addition, we also have a place on our website that calls it out that we've noticed a lot of traffic to, but one of the big things is really customer success managers drive their customers to the community. Sales also. When you sign up with Flexera, you receive an order confirmation and an onboarding package that drives customers to the community. It's like a nice welcome here's what you can do on the community, broken out into different messages. We're also working on in-app messaging. So when you're actually in our product, we're calling out the community and driving customers there, which is way more effective than email. So it's a lot of different methods. We're really trying that because one of our goals is still to drive registrations, and we still have a lot of customers that have not set up an account or registered on the community. So that's something that we're constantly trying to refine.
All right. So I think this is it. People are saying thank you for the replies. They were really helpful. And
oh, that was a nice comment. Yeah, I know I've had one cup of coffee, but no, this was so. I was so excited to talk about this because I'm so passionate about our community, and I think it just offers such great value for customers. But there's a science to it, and it's something that you constantly have to work on and refine.
Right. So this is it. I think we're done with all of the questions.
Great. No, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alexis.
Take care. Bye.